What is up, everybody? It's Kalen Moss, aka the Minute Admin here, and today I have a special guest, not only for you guys, but for me also, because I want to learn about Copado. And if you've ever wanted to learn about Copado, today is the day you're going to learn about Copado. So in this session, we have Jen Nelson, Salesforce MVP, as well as Copado expert and instructor. I'll let her introduce herself here on this call so that you all become familiar with Jen. So, hey, Jen, how's it going?
Hey, Caitlin, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. Hi, everybody. My name is Jen Nelson. I am a 18-year veteran of the Salesforce ecosystem. So just to give you a little quick intro to my path of Salesforce, 18 years ago, I started as an accidental admin. Some of you may not have been born yet, or at least you wouldn't have been in grade school. But I was an accidental admin. I used Salesforce for my employer. Over time, I became a Salesforce system integrator. So I actually worked for companies that implement Salesforce for about 10 years. I have been a leader for Salesforce admin group in the Chicago suburbs. I've helped to plan Midwest Dreamin'. I was on the planning committee for that for 2 years. I've done Dreamforce presentations, and as Kaylin mentioned, I'm also in the Salesforce MVP Hall of Fame. So I was first introduced or inducted into the Salesforce MVP program in 2014. And one of the reasons that those of us who are in the MVP program got in is because we had so much passion for the platform and so much effort to share our knowledge, share our passion with others in the ecosystem. So one of the reasons I was excited to come on with Kaylin is how much Kaylin is enthusiastic about sharing his knowledge and his excitement about Salesforce and other companies in the ecosystem like Copado with all of you.
Thank
Good
you.
stuff.
Yeah, that and if everybody if anyone here watching this is interested in learning how to really advance your career, start back to when Jen started speaking and listen to that on repeat, because that just inspired me to really just step my game up. I feel like I've been doing a lot of work, but I'm like, man, nothing compares to what Jen has done so far. So I need to get my step my game up here. Thank you for that intro, Jen. I've got a few questions for you here, all pretty much Copado related. Once again, here we go with the Copado logo here. So anyone who sees that, just know that that is Copado. Actually, Jen, thank you for pointing that out, because I didn't even know that was Copado. Like I said, I'm learning in this interview as well. Could you just tell us a little bit about what you currently do? I know you told us about your background, and but what do you currently do right now?
So I just started recently a new role at Copado. So my title is Director of Program Management. And what I'm doing is building different enablement programs around Copado. Your journey to learn Copado and learn DevOps is going to be different if you're a customer, if you're a partner, if you're a user, a release manager, right? Different role-based experiences. So I'm building programs to be able to help users learn Copado faster.
I like that. And I really want to kind of touch on that a little bit more. If you could go and just not a ton of detail, but just a little bit more about those different experiences for the end user, for someone who's actually using Copado on the everyday side, like as an admin, or for partners. Like, could you go in a little bit more depth? Because I think people, when they first get started, maybe with Copado or even Salesforce, they think it's all the same training. But could you explain a little bit further why there needs to be a little bit different training?
At its core, Copado serves the DevOps team. The DevOps team can be a lot of different people. So they can be business analysts who are gathering requirements for changes in Salesforce. They can be solution architects who are designing the solution. They might be developers who are doing like Apex, Visualforce, Lightning Web Components. They may be declarative admins who are building custom objects and custom fields and using the declarative tools like process builders and flows. They may be testers, which testers may be manual testing of functionality, new functionality, may also be automated regression testing to make sure that what you are about to push into production doesn't break what you've done before. And then there are release managers who are responsible for actually releasing the changes into production. And across all that platform, there are also what are called Copado admins. So very similar to Salesforce admin, right? The Salesforce admin isn't necessarily a sales user, a support user, a marketing user. They're doing the configuration, the maintenance, the upgrade of Salesforce. Same thing with a Copado admin. So they're the ones who actually set up Copado, who maintain it, assign user licenses, perform the upgrades. And because Copado is 100% native to Salesforce, it's very familiar for them, right? Because they're all in the Salesforce UI. It's not some separate outside program.
Yeah, I think that really clears things up because I think people get all of that blurred together. And you really made that very clear. Everybody has a specific role within any Salesforce or any software stack or any piece of technology. And it's super important that everyone knows which role they play and how to actually play that role to the highest potential. So
right. You don't want the catcher going out to the mound and throwing the next pitch, right?
Exactly.
It's like you're the catcher, so stay there, have the appropriate gear, have the appropriate training, right? Same thing.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, all types of different training. So everyone just consider that as your if you've ever played sports, that's your I guess in football we called that our position coach. Learn your position, learn your role, and excel at it so you can be really great on the team. So thank you for that. So now that we understand that there's different paths that you can take in Copado, I'm sure there's still a lot of people that are wondering what in the world Copado actually is. I know you mentioned regression testing, DevOps, but overall, like, what is Copado? What is it? Could you, in like maybe layman's terms, what does it do for a company?
The short answer is Copado is a full DevOps platform built on Salesforce. The longer answer is that Copado allows you to do things like actually chain together your sandboxes and your production org in a clean path so that all of your Salesforce changes, they go from development to a merge sandbox to a QA sandbox to a UAT sandbox, instead of like with change sets where somebody could just go from their dev sandbox to production. And Copado allows you to include quality gates along the way and start them further back in the process so that, like, for example, have you ever tried to deploy Apex to production and you get that code coverage error, right? With Copado, you can actually identify that code coverage issue all the way back in your developer sandbox. And that way, when you get up to your UAT sandbox and it's the night before production, you're not running your validations and going, oh man, we only have 50% code coverage. We're never going to get into production.
Okay.
And because Copado is native to Salesforce, you can also go above and beyond all that good stuff that Copado has. You can have chatter, because everything's chatter enabled. You can run reports. You can add your own custom fields or your own custom validations. You can integrate with Jira or Azure DevOps. Even though Copado has all the tools to do ALM, we've got stories, projects, releases, sprints, epics, all that good ALM stuff. If you have Jira already, you can sync that into Copado with very little effort.
Yeah, and I think just from that, I've got 5, 6 follow-up questions, but
Yeah.
for the sake of time and for sake of viewers watching this, I think maybe we may have another video that comes out where we go over some of the follow-up questions that I've got, or maybe what viewers watching this want to know. We may do a follow-up interview here, but yeah, so many questions for that that one specific one. But I'm just gonna, yep, go ahead.
Can I show you something real quick?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's see it.
So let's see. Let's take a look here. So as I mentioned, Copado is 100% in Salesforce. So I'm in Salesforce Lightning org, right? Copado is an app exchange managed package. Without going into all the nitty gritty about how I set it up, just looking here at the pipeline manager, you'll notice that I've got all my sandboxes and my production org in a nice, clean path, right? So here's all my developer sandboxes. They can only feed into this merge sandbox. The merge sandbox can only feed into QA. QA can only go to UAT, UAT to production, and then I've got a hotfix. And I can add all these really cool automations so that if I have work come up to this sandbox, I can synchronize down to the other sandboxes so that the developers stay aware of each other's changes. And
wow.
I can add quality gates so that I automatically do Apex code coverage checks or validate only deployments if I have no Apex. It's so, so cool. Versus I have to build a change set from here to here, deploy it, then I have to rebuild the same change set from here to here, deploy it, rebuild it here, and then rebuild it to go back to these guys.
Yeah, so what you said is like it streamlines everything. Like you mentioned, it streamlines the entire process, and this looks super streamlined, and it looks like you get to see the whole visual overview of the entire DevOps process in one specific chart here.
Exactly.
That makes life so much easier. I'm sure people watching this who've deployed change sets to different sandboxes or developer orgs, you understand the depth or how important this actually is, just to even be able to see all of this happening from a high level overview, from the bird's eye view, so to speak. So thank you for that demo. I've got a few more questions here for you. So now let's say, somebody understands what Copado is. We understand kind of like what it looks like now. What sort of background does someone need if they're just now getting started in Copado? Do they need to have any special knowledge to start learning it?
Yes, they do. Because Copado is not just, its own standalone world, right? Copado is the tool that we use to move your Salesforce changes. Well, in order to create and move your Salesforce changes, you have to understand Salesforce, right? So I definitely always encourage people, especially if they are new to Salesforce, please, please, please go to Trailhead. Trailhead is the best learning management system I've learned. I use Trailhead myself, even to this day, because Salesforce has new features I've never used. And there is an admin beginner trail that will get you all the basics of Salesforce. It will teach you how to create custom objects and fields. It'll teach you how to create flows and process builders. And then once you understand that, that helps, right? The other thing that I would strongly recommend is to go to the Git provider of your choice. So you could do GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket, or Azure repos, whatever your preference is. They all have their own university or academy, right? And go in and just learn some basics. Git is what we use for version control. So at the most simple, think about a page layout. If Kaylin and I work on the same production org, we have one account page layout, right? If Kaylin is assigned work to add a date field and a text field to that account layout, that's one version of the account layout. If I'm assigned work to add a number field and a pick list field to the account layout, that's a second version, right? If Kaylin and I come together, there's a possibility that Kaylin's change could overwrite my change. There's a possibility mine could overwrite his. And so with Copado, we'll give you that additional tools and the additional visibility to work out so that Kaylin and I, both our versions get merged together. But it would be helpful if you had that foundational understanding of the version control before I try to explain it to you, or we at Copado try to explain it to you, right? Because it's how the versions work. No different than document versioning, right? How many of us collaborate together on Google Docs or on Quip? And you have to be able to merge the different versions together. So that's what Copado helps you do.
Yeah, and for anyone who just heard that and they're wondering where to start off, that admin beginner trail will be included as a link below this video, as well as other resources that Jen just mentioned, such as GitHub, and any other resources that you're going to need before you get started with Copado. So don't worry about trying to go find that somewhere else on the internet. That'll be right below this video here in the description.
So once you have that foundation, then you can go to success.copado.com, and success.copado.com is Copado's success community, and in it we have Copado Academy, which is very similar to Trailhead, but we don't work for Salesforce. We're not owned by Salesforce, so we don't have a Trailhead. So Copado Academy is a similar way that you can do self-paced learning and learn Copado, but you're gonna do much more. You're gonna be much more successful if you understand Salesforce and Git first.
Yeah, definitely. And that link will also be included as well. So thank you so much for that. Now it's all starting to make sense. So Salesforce, you need an understanding of Salesforce, need an understanding of how the GitHub system works, which I still don't really know how the GitHub entire system works. I didn't even know they had an entire academy to teach you how to use that. So you're once again, going back to the beginning, you're teaching me. I think at the same time you're teaching everybody else here. So thank you for that. So a few more questions here. So you mentioned that you could take this Copado admin path. Well, what is that? What is a Copado administrator? You mentioned how it's kind of like a Salesforce admin. What is a Copado admin, and what does a Copado admin actually do?
It's a good question. So very similar to the way that a Salesforce system administrator does the setup of Salesforce, so that they're the ones that create the page layouts that all the Salesforce users use. They're the ones that create the quick actions and the workflows that help the sales team and the support team. So because Copado is an app within Salesforce, right? It's a paid app that you add to Salesforce. A Copado admin is doing the configuration specific to Copado. So it's doing the initial setup of Copado to connect Copado to each of your Salesforce orgs that are going to be in that pipeline, to connect Copado to the Git for version control, set up to possibly connect Jira or Azure to bring user stories into Copado, and do the user management, right? So assign user licenses, help get users connected to Copado the first time, because you have to connect your Salesforce user to your Copado user, and generally helping to ensure that all of the functionality in Copado, like when users are committing their changes to user stories, when they're promoting it and deploying between Salesforce environments, to help troubleshoot and help support the users.
Okay. And is there any documentation on the Copado website about what a Copado admin's role is?
There is actually, yes.
Okay.
So, and we will include the link in the, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but let me just go here real quick. So if you go to docs.copado.com, that's our public website. And if you type Copado admin, then it will give you what if a user is given a Copado admin license. What does that mean? What are they generally responsible for? What are they going to be able to do in Copado? Versus if we look at someone who is just going to be a regular Copado user, like a Salesforce developer or a declarative admin, this gives you an idea of what that user can do and what they will be able to do in the context of Copado.
Oh, nice. Yeah. These links will definitely be included for sure. Thank you for that. And I love seeing, I think I'm not the only one, but I think I love seeing whenever you're explaining something and then you show it on the screen like that. That just made it more real for me. So thank you for showing that. Once again, everyone, those links will be included in the description below. So those, don't worry about having to try to find that. But let's close this out with just one final question that I've got for you, which is for anyone that is looking to actually learn Copado, after watching this now, they have a knowledge base kind of around it. What should their very next steps be? Let's say they've learned, they know Salesforce admin, they understand the GitHub, they kind of understand Copado. What should be the next step for this person now?
Yep. So very next step, let me share because this is good for you to see. So very next step is to go to success.copado.com. It's self-registration. So anybody can register. It is totally free. And then once you come in, you're going to look for this menu here that says Help and Training and Academy. This is Copado's version of Trailhead within our system. And right here on the filters, so you can see Copado Academy, you're going to type fundamentals and you're going to hit enter. And there are two trails here. There's fundamentals certification trail 1 and trail 2. Just like with Salesforce, you do have to pay for the certificate, but you do not have to pay to take the class. So if I just right clicked on this trail, and on this trail, you can see that there are 1, 2, they go top, bottom. This is important. They don't go left, right. They go top, bottom. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those 6 modules will get you the fundamentals 1 experience, the knowledge about Copado. If you choose to take the certificate, there is a charge for the certificate. And then additionally, the fundamentals 2 builds on top of fundamentals 1. So once you've finished all the modules for fundamentals 1, even if you don't take the cert, you can still come in and take the modules. Again, you want to go 1, let's see, what do we do? This one happens to go left to right. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the certification. Okay.
Okay.
But really, really good modules, a mix of reading, a mix of videos. There's some videos in there that really bring it together, similar to the demos that I've done here. And so if you do, the modules in those two trails, that will get you a very good foundation. Now, just like with Salesforce, having the certification is a benefit, and the Copado certifications you can add to your LinkedIn, same way that you add your Salesforce certifications. So pretty slick.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. So that gives everybody, I think, a direction to go now that they have watched this entire interview, and they have some sort of some direction to move forward into. So, with that being said, thank you so much for your time, Jen. I appreciate it. I'm sure everybody out here appreciates it, that's watching as well. And we may have to run this back and do it again here shortly, because I'm sure there's going to be some follow-up questions that we get from the community.
Well, thank you, Kaylin, for all that you do. I am a huge fan of the MinuteAdmin. I love your energy. I love your passion and your enthusiasm for Salesforce. And for all of you watching, thank you. And please remember, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned from the Salesforce ecosystem is that we are all a community, and Copado ecosystem as well. We are a community. We are here to help each other. So as you gain knowledge, share your knowledge with other people. Pay it forward is a big deal. And that's how we've all managed to grow our careers ourselves.
Exactly. Thank you. Thanks so much, Jen.
Thank you.